Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the House of Lev YouTube channel. You already know what it is. You already know what it is. I am sitting right next to the man himself, my brother from another mother, Doctor. Dr. Yehudah Pryce. How you doing, bro?
Baruch Hashem, doing well. Always good to be connected with my bro.
Oh man. Hey, it's been a minute. So it's been like a cool year. I was looking at the last interview that we did with Aish, which was really, really cool. So if you guys haven't checked that out, make sure you go check it out. I'll make sure I put that link in the description down below. But man, it's been a while since we've been able to connect on this level, man.
Man, when we're back, it's magic. So, I love connecting with you. We usually do it on Shabbos,
Right.
right? So to be able to do this on the camera,
Yeah.
it's a whole nother level. So I appreciate it because it memorializes it. And so come back and look at it, right?
Yeah.
So because you're on your journey, up out of here to Eretz Israel, and I'm on my journey, right? And so, I very much enjoy and cherish these moments connecting with you.
Man, same here. Same here, man. So yeah, I've been waiting for just been waiting for the right time. I know schedules are crazy. You got life, family going on. I got life, family going on. But I think the way that Hashem designed for us to be able to have this particular meetup at this particular time in our lives and in this particular time in history, I think it's Hashgacha Prati for sure. Um, so I mean, you've been posting a lot of videos. Your social media has been popping for the past couple of weeks, looking at videos from Eretz Israel. You just got back.
Life changing, man. Life changing, right? To be a Jew in the land of the Jews,
Mm,
right? Like in every other place, and I travel to different shuls across the country speaking, super warm. It's a super great experience doing that. But at the end of the day, we're a minority living in, you know, a foreign land. We're in the
mm,
diaspora, right?
yeah.
To be a Jew in the Jewish land where you're looking at everything and you're understanding like this is where we're supposed to be,
Hmm.
right? This is where we're supposed to be, right? And your neshama, your soul, it feels at home, right? It's hard to kind of describe it. It's hard to articulate it because it's a feeling, and you
Yeah.
have to experience it to truly understand that when you're there, you feel at home.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like it is like this podcast, I really want to focus on like just your experience there. What did it do for your life? Just all those different things. I want to come back into it, but let's maybe start from the beginning and maybe you can share like why did you go to Israel? How did you what was that about?
I mean, how do you not go, right? Right. My chavrusa Mark Elman was like, he was asking me, I want to do something to support Eretz Israel, support the people in Israel, during this time we're at war, right?
Yeah.
For a Jew, right, when we're at war and it's connected to our land, we're not like we just got to run away from it, right? Like
Right.
it's a shared fate, right? So we want to be connected, we want to be able to support, and we're seeing all types of Jews coming out the woodwork, helping support the cause, right?
Yeah.
And Indy said, should I go or not? And I told him, my position, right? You can't claim to be a Zionist or anything connected to that and not want to move to Eretz Israel, at least theoretically, right?
Right.
So to visit it, right, in the time of war, that's when you're supposed to go, right? So I very much encouraged them. He doubled back and said, "All right, well, you down to go with me?" Me? Well, first of all, let me check with my wife, right?
Yeah,
Because if
right,
my
right.
wife says no, then it is what it is, right?
Facts. Facts.
And my wife was like, "No, for sure," because she made Aliyah before. She's been out there a couple years, and she was like, "No, you need to experience it." So she was like, and that's a big deal, right? Because she had to take care of the kids,
Right.
right? And she said, "Yeah, go for it." So I came back and said, like, "Yeah, it's on," right? And so he's
Yeah.
like, "You sure?" I mean, for sure, let's do it. And because he said that, we were able to go to Eretz Israel, and we went with the Stand With Us, right? So we really were just picking out a mission, right? Just
Okay.
looking for a solidarity mission. Didn't want to go there just to like the vacation. We want to be able to connect with
Right.
the soldiers, with the different sort of leaders, to have a curated sort of experience in Eretz Israel. And so we went to Stand With Us, solidarity mission, and it was, to say the least, it was life changing, life changing.
Wow. So you were there for how long?
I was a little bit. I was there for a little bit over 15 days.
15
Right.
days.
Yeah.
Okay, that I feel like that's a good time. Like
Yeah.
when I went to Israel, I was there for 2 days.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's not enough.
Like I
That's
was
not
in Tel
enough.
Aviv for a day, then the next day on our off day, we went to Jerusalem for like 6 hours.
How was Jerusalem for
It
you
was
though?
life changing.
That yeah.
It was life changing, but it was just like you just got a chance to touch it just for a minute,
Yeah, yeah,
Then
yeah,
I
yeah,
then
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like
yeah.
next thing like, hey, we got to go hop on a flight,
You got to marinate it. You got to marinate in
I
the
didn't have
kedusha.
I didn't have no time to
Yeah.
marinate at all. So when you touch down, what explain if you can explain that the emotions, the feelings that you had the moment that you touched down.
Well, when I first touched down, I mean, you're just going through you're just trying to get where you need to get, right? You got your luggage,
Right.
I went on, first of all, I went on this light train or whatever they call it they
Yeah.
had there, right? And first of all, I like to see the people around me, right? And I see so many like from Jews, right? I see different Jews, right? It's like I'm used to, in America, you see a Jew, like, the silent
Right,
acknowledgement, it's
right,
a
right,
head
right.
nod, it's a whole thing, but everybody's Jewish, right? Not everybody, right? We have Arabs, it's not like apartheid or anything like that. You really got a whole mixture, right? But you just see so many Jews,
Yeah.
and so it just like it's very normal. But I was soaking it in, right? Like I feel good to be around so many Jews, right? Because again, usually I'm like the minority, so to
Yeah.
speak,
Yeah.
right? Um, so we went on the train. We went to Yerushalayim. That was the first place I went, right? And just to go, because all the buildings, they're made of that Jerusalem stone, right? It's just
Yes, yes, yes.
when you get there, you feel like you're in a place that is out of history, out of a history book,
Mm.
right? We study Torah, and that's our history book, so to speak, right?
Right,
Where
right.
we're like and when you see that, you're like, yeah, this is like we're entering like biblical times, right? You feel it, right?
Right.
You feel it, right? It's hard to describe. You feel it, but yeah, the first place I went is Yerushalayim. I went specifically to Baca, right, which is a
Okay.
particular community in there, right?
Okay.
That's where we stayed with Mark's friend Rick, right, who became a friend of me. Rick Scotchenstein, I think that's the name. It's the name of the Talmud, right? His people are the
Oh,
Art Scroll people.
no way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But great, awesome host, and we were overlooking. I could see the Kosel, I could see the Western Wall from our, from the balcony. So it
Wow.
was nice. It was nice, and he connected us with Nitzavim, which is a shul right there.
Yeah.
Going into that shul, seeing like hundreds of people there and davening, right? You see soldiers coming in there with their weapons and all that, and it's not a thing where you're like, oh wow, they got
You
weapons.
like scared or
No,
anything?
no,
Like,
it's not like that. It's like, okay, these are Jews, and they're there to defend and protect,
mm,
people from harming us,
yeah.
right? And so you feel empowered. You don't feel like threatened about the situation. You're like, all right, I got Torah, I got Hashem, and I got Jews protecting me,
Yeah.
right? And so,
Yeah.
I felt safer than I have felt in America.
That's a big statement,
Yeah,
bro. That's a big
yeah. It's the
statement.
truth, though.
Because people say like, oh, well, I don't want to go because there's so much going on over there, and then you got soldiers walking around with guns, right? So that makes me feel anxious. Like I've heard people say these things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But to hear you say that you actually felt more safe, and it's just like it wasn't a weird thing that you see soldiers walking around with weapons and things like that, but it's like like you just felt even more protected.
yeah, yeah.
It's this conversation is very like near and dear to my heart because our family, we're getting ready to make Aliyah in a handful of months,
Baruch
Bezrat Hashem.
Hashem, Baruch Hashem.
And so to be able to like pick your brain and to hear your firsthand experience in the place that we're going in a handful of months, it's very, very special for us
Well, I'm here. Pick my
to
brain, man. Pick my brain.
be. So obviously we're living in a very uh interesting time, right?
Yeah, to say the
But
least. To
to
say the
say
least.
the least, exciting, right? No, it's a lot of different things, right? But uh, I want to ask you just your initial impressions on the cultural and social atmosphere in Israel? Because I feel like a lot of people really want to know that because we hear, I mean, we got a lot of propaganda, we got a lot of just a whole bunch of people on the internet, and I feel like it's sometimes it can be challenging to be able to really, really get the scope, the feel,
Yeah,
you know?
no, I hear you. And we have all these internet experts, right? That just they know everything about Israel. They haven't been to Israel, but they know about
They
it, right?
know.
They know at least all the negative things that they want to bring out. I would say so. One, I didn't believe any of the sort of right. Where I speak to many people in Israel,
Yeah.
right? And so it's not like I'm just going in there just blind. I speak to people in Israel. I speak to people from all walks of life. A very diverse. Israel, is kind of synonymous with diversity,
Yeah.
right? And so we speak to people connected to Israel, and I hear only good things. But again, I got to experience it. So I went there, and not only that, I said I went there, and I specifically asked people from different sort of segments of Israeli society of what their experience was there, right? Like
Mhm.
I didn't want to hear from like the filter of like newspapers or media
Right.
sources, right? I
Right.
wanted to see it, right? Um, and one I would say is that it's super diverse, right? Like I never felt like, oh, I'm a black dude up in here, everybody looking at me, anything like that, right? I went to the co-sale, right? I went there and like I seen other, hey, you see a brother there, see that, right?
Right. Right.
Like
Right.
diversity wasn't an issue whatsoever. Not only that, right? Like when I went to the shul, right, wherever I went, I got a aliyah, like I got the honor, right? It was an
Mm-hmm.
honor. It was more so. Then I got also that appreciation. Thank you for supporting Israel during this
Mm.
particular time. And and a lot of people just, there's trauma there, right? There's intergenerational trauma because the Jews, like for centuries, for thousands of years, have always been persecuted for different reasons,
Right.
right? Reasons that we knew were like completely like false, right?
Yeah.
Like just made up, didn't even make sense, right? And right now, but it's different from this the normal persecution, right? Because we have like so many hostages that were taken, right? And I think what really stood out for me was that seeing all these pictures of hostages on the walls, right? Like these are our brothers, these are our sisters, like these are
Yep.
people that were taken and ripped from the community, right? And so we really feel it at a level that's even in America, Jews feel it because we're like it's like 1 degree of separation,
Right.
right? Because Jewish community is small, like Jewish people are small, right? So somebody's connected some way, but in Eretz Israel, where it actually happened, where people literally just like walked over the border and did it, right?
Right. Right.
It's a different sort of feeling, and it was weird in that I don't want to say it was weird, but the fact that I felt comforted by those pictures. And when I say that means
Mm.
I was distressed by the pictures, right? Like, man, like this hits home.
Yeah.
But I was comforted that because like in America, when you see those posters, you see like 5 or 6 versions of it torn down,
Mm.
right? And to be there and you didn't see them torn down, right? Like, because it really
Wow.
it's rough where like coming from a therapeutic angle, right? As a therapist, right, is that you should be allowed the room and space to mourn,
Mm.
right? And the Jewish people, especially specifically in America, right, haven't been allowed that sort of room to mourn.
Right.
Not only that, right,
Right.
it's kind of like now we have to defend ourselves against outlandish accusations, but like when you see pictures of baby hostages being torn down, right? It's just like you start losing faith in humanity and
Humanity.
mankind, right? Like
Right.
what world am I living in
Right.
where a picture of a baby, right, triggers people to rip it down,
Mm.
right? Because they hate Jews that much, whether it's subconsciously or consciously, right? But so to be in Eretz Israel, see the pictures up, it hits home, but also know like I'm literally the only place on earth where I can expect that these pictures and these hostages, like they'll be honored enough
Mm.
not to be torn down, right? And that really really hit home. That's one of the reasons I knew I was at home, right?
Mm.
I was at home, right? I didn't, I wasn't worried about some outside people. Like, how are they thinking about this? How are they judging us while trying to mourn? Because we're still mourning,
Yeah.
right? We're still mourning. Like
Yeah.
they got hostages, right? They got hostages right now, right?
Right.
And we got to explain ourselves because we're saying, just give us the hostages back.
And that's all we want.
Just give the hostages back.
Everything to stop.
But I swear it's the only situation where you could just hold on to hostages and be the victim,
Right.
right? You take hostages, you hold on to hostages, and you're the
And
victim,
you're the victim.
right? And so in Eretz Yisrael, I didn't feel that way. In Eretz Yisrael, I felt like these are our people, and everybody as a collective, as a nation, understands
Hmm.
morality, understands right or wrong.
Yeah. Our our other Israeli citizens, are the Jewish people in Israel, are they frantic? Are they scared? What is the feeling there? Like, are people like, would you say like the general populace is on the vibe that you're talking about right now? You know?
So so people aren't afraid or scared.
Okay.
That's not the feeling I
Okay. Of
got whatsoever. I mean, people are hurt,
course.
right?
Of
People are
course.
mourning. People are, people are also like people are angered, like
Yeah.
they're angered at what's going on as well, right? But people are not scared. People are living their life, and they understand, right? And if we think about it, even historically speaking, to be a Jew is to be subject to persecution at any moment in time,
Yeah.
right? At any moment in time. So I think like even like living here in America, uh, seeing like the rise of anti-Semitism, right? Think about it. We have the most despicable, vicious attack on Jews since the Holocaust, right?
Right. Right.
And notice I have to say since the previous incident, right? Not like this ever, but this since the previous previous incident, and then there's a drastic rise in anti-Semitism, which is weird, right? Like
Yeah.
it's weird. We think about it, right? Worst attack, anti-Semitic attack, and then there's a rise of anti-Semitism, and so a lot of Jews in America, right? We look at the rise of anti-Semitism on campus campuses as kind of like our Dreyfus affair moment, where people think like, oh wow, people really hate us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
People really hate us. In Eretz Yisrael, we understand that the hate, we understand it like that, but there's also a solidarity, there's a celebration of life, right? Because
Mm.
again, we bask in life, we bask in love.
Right.
And when you see the Israeli flags and you see the sort of the way people treat you and greet you, right, you feel at home, you feel your brothers and sisters are welcome you at home.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, right, I've been in communities, I've seen people let their children out, little kids, and because they trust that, we're not talking about random crime. People have to worry about random crime. I'm not saying crime doesn't exist in Eretz Israel, right?
Right.
But there's a different level of responsibility that people have for other Jews in there that you feel
Yeah.
and that you sense, right? So people have been traumatized.
Yeah.
People are angry, right? Angry at the sort of situation they find themselves in, right? But people aren't scared. The Jewish people in Eretz Israel are not scared. They're not a scared people.
I think what you just explained will provide, hopefully, it'll provide a lot of like comfort for a lot of people watching because I mean we get messages all the time from people saying that they want to go visit, they want to go move, but because of everything that they see online and all
Yeah,
these different things on the media outlets, right, it makes them feel a certain type of way. They feel anxious, they feel scared and worried,
yeah,
and also the way that we're constantly painted,
yeah.
in the media outlets like, oh, it's our fault kind of thing, some like I feel like a, a lot of us aren't that strong, like because of the wounds and because of personal experience and things like that. So I feel like there's been a lot of people that are like feeding into all the lies and things like that, and some people are being affected by it, to where some people are starting to kind of believe like, okay, like maybe that's the truth, that's
Yeah,
the image,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to, like to have this conversation with you because I think it brings so much value to the Jewish community at large to be able to have somebody like you who lives in Husarez, but go there to visit and you can really, really see what's really popping,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, for sure. Uh, it, it, you feel at home. A Jew going to Eretz Israel is going to feel at home. You're not going to feel scared, right? Like
Yeah.
I said, like from the kids to the adults, right? There's a strength and a resiliency there, knowing and knowing we're connected to generations of previous generations that have been persecuted. But at the end of the day, we know that ultimately, like what it means to be a Jew is to be a servant of Hashem, right?
Hmm.
Like that's our goal. So ultimately, if we're just trying to be servants of Hashem, servants of God, right? Like let people hate,
Yeah.
right? Let people
Right.
hate, you know?
Right. Exactly. Um, do you feel do you feel that at some point you're gonna make that move to be able to take your family over there?
So, Bezrat Hashem, Bezrat Hashem, will be in Eretz Yisrael one day, living there. Obviously, there's a lot of different things involved,
A lot of
right?
moving parts.
A lot of moving parts. I want to make sure I'm able to provide in the way I want to provide. But there's a saying, and I don't quote me on the saying, but essentially that you don't make it in Eretz Yisrael without struggle, right? So that's just part of it, right?
That's right.
Like, and not only that,
That's right.
like I don't think that you have necessarily lived a good life if you haven't struggled,
100%. That's
right?
a
And
fact.
so now, what are we struggling for? Are you struggling just to afford vacations,
Hmm.
avoid a nice car, right? Afford a nice car, afford whatever? Are you struggling to live in Eretz Yisrael, which I follow Nachmanides. I believe it's a mitzvah,
Hmm.
right? I believe it's a
Same.
mitzvah.
Same.
And is that your, do you have spiritual goals which cause you to struggle, or do you have financial sort of me wanting to live at a particular sort of level goals that cause you to struggle,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
to me, you can't go wrong for having these sort of spiritual goals. Obviously, you got to make sure your family's taking care of this and that, but it's more than doable.
Yeah.
It's more than doable. And yeah, I feel like I wanna live there. I want to make sure I'm in the position to live there. Then don't get me wrong, people have different missions. So
Right.
maybe my mission is here for this time being,
Yep.
based on my experience and how I connect with people in a specific manner here in America. So that may be it,
Yeah.
but I'm never gonna allow that to be simply uh, you know, the easy excuse why it's good to live out Eretz
Sure.
Israel. I don't feel like I'm at home right now.
Okay.
I feel like I am alien, so to speak. I'm not when I'm in Eretz Israel, like literally, that's the only time in my life that I felt fully at home, and I felt welcomed at different sort of Jewish communities because it's a home in a sense,
Right.
right? Right, but home, I've never felt at home like I did in Eretz Israel.
Beautiful. So why do you think, if we can touch that for a minute, why do you think a lot of people have such a hard time with the idea of going back home? Why do you feel that people want to make America or wherever they're living outside of Israel? Why do people want to like make other places their home rather than Israel?
So good question. I mean, on a basic level, right? I don't necessarily fault people because at the end of the day, human beings want to be comfortable, right?
Facts. Yeah.
Even when things get ugly, you're just like, it's a lot to move.
Yeah.
Moving is traumatic in itself, right? Right. It's a trauma in itself, right? It's
Right.
coming
Right.
to move to another city. I'm like, oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
gotta this, and that, right? So I understand moving to another country, moving to where you don't necessarily have, fluency in a particular
Right.
language.
Right.
Not only that, just like getting around and kind of knowing like in America, I'll figure it out,
Yeah. You,
right?
you can maneuver.
Yeah, I'll maneuver, I'll figure it out, like job wise, this and that. So there is this unknown, right? So that is totally reasonable and totally understandable, especially if you've met with some sort of success in America. It doesn't necessarily translate into Israel, right? It doesn't necessarily translate to Israel. So I totally understand that, right? But then again, I think as Jews, we live outside of these sort of regular paradigms of just trying to have a certain level of sustenance, certain level of material, acquisition, certain level of comfortability.
Yeah.
Like that's not our goal in life,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Our goal in life, well, we have a Masorah, we have a tradition that's gone on for thousands of years, and
Yep.
the tradition sprang forth specifically in Eretz Yisrael, and it connects us to Eretz Yisrael. And I call it our Trinity, is God, Torah, and Eretz Yisrael,
Yeah.
right? And so you could have God and Torah anywhere for sure, but you're missing Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah.
And if you're missing Eretz Yisrael, you're missing part of what it means to be Jewish. That doesn't mean not to me to discount anybody who's living in existence outside of Eretz Yisrael
Right.
because there's missions that matter. There's missions that matter. The
Yes
Mashiach
and
is
no.
not here,
Right.
so there is missions that matter, and everybody doesn't necessarily need to be in Eretz Yisrael now, but that striving, neshama is striving to be, because that's the only place where neshama,
Right.
our soul, is going to be at home, is in Eretz Yisrael.
Yep.
There's no other way to do it. Everything else is not it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. Like I've even said on some videos of ours of like, everybody has their mission, but like we feel that everybody should just be making some type of strides a little bit, or having their eyes set there.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I think I think it can be problematic if we've gotten to the point to where we don't even have eyes set on the homeland.
Well, again, like I believe, even though maybe I don't have the greatest kavana, and every time I dive in Shmoni Esrei or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, like we diving 3 times a day to return to Eretz Yisrael, like that's what we diving for. So if you're
Yeah.
diving with the kavana and the attention, right? The attention should really to be to actualize those words. They're not just
Yeah.
random thoughts. They're not just something we do mechanically. All right, I gotta do my, punch in, do
Right.
this, punch out. It is not. And I gotta, the more we can live up to the words we utter from our mouth, the meditations from our heart, right?
Mm.
Right. The more we can do that, right? One, the more, complete we will be,
Yep.
right? We'll be one with Hashem and all that. But I feel like we are not we are not living up to who we are as a people. If at the very least we don't yearn, right? We don't yearn to be an Eretz Yisrael.
That's the part. It's the yearning, and it makes me think about something that Rabbi Nachman said. He said all basically I forgot the exact words, but everything starts with a yearning, and when you yearn for something, you can accomplish it,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
everything, right? So I in a lot of my personal prayer time, those are things that I'm talking to Hashem about all the time. Like, Hashem, my desire is to be in Eretz Yisrael, and I say that because I feel that anybody who has that yearning will start to be drawn more toward making it happen.
yeah,
I feel like that's that what you call arousal from below.
yeah,
We make that arousal from below. Hashem creates the arousal from above. Boom, and then that meets down in the
yeah.
middle, and Hashem starts working it out and starts, you know, putting things in order. But right,
Uh,
what does it say? Somewhere in the Gemara it says that man is led in a direction in which his heart's desires,
yeah,
right?
yeah. For good or for bad,
For good
right?
or for
For good
bad.
or bad.
So if we're desiring to be there, we're desiring to be closer to Hashem, we're desiring to learn more Torah, we're desiring for more desiring for holy things. Hashem is going to meet us there. He's going to open up doors for us to
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. Without a doubt. But you have to yearn. You have to want it, right? It's kind
Yeah.
of like people. People might be like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of vision boards. I know to kind of keep it in your mind and think about things, right? We have our sort of we have our davening, we have our prayer, right? And
Yeah.
that's it's meant to do that, right? We're not even supposed to forget about Yerushalayim, right? Like we say that before, like when we're not doing Shabbos or not doing a Yom Tov, when we're benching, right? We have this sort of introductory prayer where we're remembering, right?
Yeah.
Like no matter what joy we have, it's not full joy because we're not back in the land, right?
That's it.
We're not back in the land, and so yeah, that yearning, I believe, uh, needs to be there, should be there, and it's a healthy thing to be there, right?
Yeah.
Because it's who we are.
Yeah. So we are. Beautiful. So, so when you were there, you mentioned a couple things to me that you had a chance to meet with some pretty big time people over there. You've been making some crazy connections. You've had some powerful meetings. So maybe share with the audience a little bit on some of those connections you've been able to make, whatever you can, and I guess where did that lead? How did it impact you? So on and so forth.
So yeah, I mean, to stand with us, they had like an action pack itinerary built out for us, right?
Hmm.
We were at the IDF, we were at the spokesman headquarters. We spoke to former IDF spokesmen. We spoke to um former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett.
Wow, nice.
I was at the Knesset, spoke to the speaker. Was able to speak to the president. President initiated a conversation with me talking about
Wow.
Judaism. I was at the president's residence for this, right? They're super impactful, right? You remember,
Wow.
I'm just a Jew from jail, right? I come from jail. I come from the trenches, right?
Yeah.
I come from and even as a social worker, right? You might catch me in South Central, you might catch me in downtown LA on Skid Row, knocking on the tent looking for a client, right? Like I come from the trenches,
Mm,
and to be a Jew, and that's the only thing I have to my credit, right? I'm just a Jew, just a
mm,
simple Jew, to be able to be in these sort of spaces with accomplished dignitaries, right? And them embracing, open up their arms, having conversations again, because they see me as a Jew,
Yeah,
right? Right. And that's what they see me as, right? And so to have these sort of
that's
conversations
good.
it was super impactful. But I'll tell you, right? I'll tell you probably what hit home most, right? I was with so I met with a Rabbi Adlerstein, right? He's originally out of LA. Well, I don't know if he's originally out of LA. He used to be in LA. Now he's over there, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he took me to a shiva to learn with me, Nativa Das, I believe his name, and he allowed me to meet with the Rosh Hashiva, Rav Naftali Kaplan, right?
Okay.
Who's like 92 years old,
Wow.
right? And I I went into this room with him, small office room, right? I was like, I was almost be like, look, man, if you need me to help you, like, decorate or modify this place up, right? But small desk, right? Very, very just like, and he was learning how to a safer route. And I remember asking him about this, like we were asking him, I was with Mark Ellman, and we're, Mark Ellman specifically. I remember asked this question, like, what can we do?
Hmm.
What can we do to support the cause and all that, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and he gave the standard answer, which after you hear it, like that seems like the standard answer, right? Learn Torah,
Mm.
right? Learn Torah, right? And I don't say that like it really hit home, right? Because I didn't say that as look for this, you learn Torah and then this miracle, magical stuff start happening and the world changes and all that. Not to say it doesn't,
Right.
right? But right, like it hit home differently when he said it, right? And it was kind of even connected
Mm.
to the parsha of the particular week, right? In that studying Torah is a thing, but what it does, and it made sense when he said it, right, is that it changes the way you think and the decisions you make if you're constantly toiling and toiling,
Wow.
right? It's different, right?
Wow.
Is the conversation with your wife going to be a certain way? Is it with the neighbor? Is it with the road rage person who's flipping you off? Is it with wartime decisions from government officials, right? Like, are you operating in the manner of what it means to be Jewish, what it means to be a
Mm.
Torah observant Jew, right? And he said Torah, and so I would say like one out of all the dignitaries I met and all the important people and all that, I was most impressed. I was most careful of my words
Mm.
in front of this Rosh Hashanah.
Wow.
Right, that's what hit me the most. The level of gravitas, the level of just his neshama shine through, right? And even going into the yeshiva, that's the first yeshiva I went into, and I seen this sea of like white shirts and people just really just learning Torah, right? Like I'm like that's how we're going to be saved. That does not mean that I
Mm.
don't believe that we need to have a strong military, strong this and strong that, and we need people supporting us in the politics and all that. That's not me to, me, I'm not going to go on a political rant. So that's not me to say that none of that stuff matter, but none of it matters without Torah. Because at the end of the day, right, that's why we're Jews, right?
That's why we're just.
This most stable I think a framework that governs Jewish identity has been, from Yiddishkeit has been our Masorah, has been, Torah Judaism,
Yeah.
right? And so to think that we can excel or, conquer our enemies or at least defend ourselves against an enemy, we're not even really trying to defend ourselves, right? To do it without Torah, that has to be a key feature of anything, right? And so my big takeaway after, leaving Eretz Israel or even leaving the Rosh Hashiva was there is no solution, and the solution even goes out to anti-Semitism. Again, I'll go on my political rants about anti-Semitism, and I could debate and all this other thing, right? But nothing is solved or vanquished, so to speak, without Torah. It's just not going to happen, right? And we have to realize that that's who we are as a people, though, and to discount that and to not latch onto that as what, this is part of the solution, that's part of the solution. Torah is there,
Yeah.
it's instrumental, and there is no way without it, right?
Yeah.
And so that was the most impactful moment in Eretz
Beautiful.
Israel, right? And my big takeaway at the end of the day, like, and what can you do personally and what is needed? And then
Mm.
there's the practical application of it, right? Not just you can learn Torah and the brachot is going to come raining down and Hashem is going to have his hand. All that, I'm not discounting that. Now I'm downplaying that, but there's a practical that all your actions, all your thoughts are going to be influenced by the spirit of Torah if you're, if you're toiling in it, right?
No, that's that's super good because there's so many, what do I say? There's so many ideas floating around out here as far as what the solution is. Right? Well, how do we do this? Well, what's the solution? What's this? What's this? How do we do this? How do we do this? And and sometime like I've even had to take a step back on a lot of social media, like just being on it,
Yeah.
just because I have to constantly make sure that my mind stays clear and making sure I'm disconnecting myself from the noise and connecting myself to Hashem.
Yeah.
And I say that because, like I said, there's so many ideas. Everybody has a solution, right? But not everybody talks about what you just said. It's the Torah. It's the Torah, right? It's the thing. Like, I mean, how fitting though, right? We're
Yeah.
we're going Torah Shavuot
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and but that's the answer for people who, let's say there's a guy watching this video right now who have never picked up a Torah. Maybe he was raised secular. What do you say to that person right now? But he's like, man, that kind of hit me a little bit, but I don't know where to start. What do you say to him?
So I'll say to that guy, right? Because I was a guy at some point that was agnostic, and I think I had some solid arguments against religion. I know how to put the arguments against religion, right?
Right, right.
And I also know that I also thought orthodoxy was like punctilious. They weren't about these details. It's this and that. But it's kind of like familiar with the Karate Kid.
Oh yeah.
So
Which one? Old school? We talking
I
about
don't
the
know
old
about the
school?
old school. I didn't see the new one, right? It's been a while, right?
All right, for sure.
But there was that whole, wax on, wax off, right?
Right, right, right.
And
Mr.
Daniel
Miyagi.
and Daniel's son were like, man, what am I doing what am I doing this wax on, wax off stuff, right? And Mr. Miyagi was like, man, just do it. You
Just
know what
listen
I'm
to me,
saying?
man.
Yeah,
Shut your
yeah,
mouth.
yeah, yeah. So, but you don't know. You don't know in the moment you're doing it, right? And I think that's like with Torah, especially when you do it right. The more you get into it, right, the more you start delving into it and toiling with for its own sake, not for any other particular reason, but for its own sake,
Yeah.
right? The sort of the effect is going to come. You're going to understand the effect, and then you're going to understand it. Like you're going to be like, oh wow, all right.
Mm-hmm.
I have had a shift in consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's affected my life. It's came out in different sort of ways. Not only that, like the more I've toiled in Torah, right, the more it means something to me, right?
Yeah.
And I remember struggling. I remember when I first, when I was in a prison cell, and I said, all right, I gotta learn Torah. I gotta do the parsha. I gotta do the parsha. And Jews supposed to do the parsha. They say it's all gonna affect you and all that. I gotta do it. And I remember reading in the Hebrew, and I remember telling myself, man, this is the stupidest thing, man, because I don't understand it, right? And I'm just reading, and it's taking so long. Maybe if I just do this English translation, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe I do this, and that, right? But that whole process of delving into it and
That
trying and
toil.
struggling, right? It chiseled my neshama, so to speak, right? It
Mm-hmm.
shaped me, right? And I didn't realize in what ways it did so until later down the line. So it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to say that from the beginning, but I would say that to a person who's watching this and is not connected to that, I'm not necessarily trying to convince you of anything that you really should have already be convinced of, because to be a Jew, to understand Jewish history, to understand that we introduced, right, our perception and our relationship to God that literally changed the world. It changed the way people see God, relate to the God, the people understand values and how to be in this world. It dramatically shifted that to the point where billions of people are affected in some way, right? Sort of daughter religions that branched out, right? We know that. We also know that for thousands of years, this Masorah has kept us together as a people. The only reason we're in Eretz Yisrael now, right, is because this sort of Masorah, this tradition kept us connected to
Right.
Eretz Yisrael,
Right.
right?
Right.
Right. And not only that, even if you look at it, right, even if you look at like certain denominations, this and like the only people that are really growing are people that are connected to Torah, right?
Yeah.
If you're looking at Jewish communities, right? Number wise, and it makes sense, right? Because the truth should there should be some sort of empirical evidence connected to the truth, right? So I would just say, right, uh, uh, don't don't start learning Torah just for what you think the benefits are going to be or
Mm-hmm.
what the outcomes you hope to be, right? Do it for its own sake. You're
Mm-hmm.
connecting to Hashem. You're connecting to what it means to be a Jew. You're connecting to your peoplehood. You're connecting to thousands of years of history that people died and gave their life
Yeah.
for, right?
Yeah.
People gave their life for it. Even the holy neshamos that just were taken away by Hamas, right? They they died for being Jewish,
Yeah.
whether they were toiling in Torah or not. It's the idea to be a Jew. So be as Jewish as possible. Start learning, and don't expect you to reach a certain level or to do or this to happen.
Yeah.
Just do it for its own sake.
Beautiful.
Do it long enough, right? And then wax on, wax off. You're gonna be, oh wow,
Mm.
wow. You see what I just did,
Yeah.
right? You see
Nice.
what I just did, right? You know what I mean?
Nice. Nice. It makes me think about something that our Rabbi Senior, Beth Jacob Irvine, he said something beautiful this past Shabbos, and he was talking about learning and what you just said reminded me, and he says Hashem doesn't pay attention to how much Gemara you've learned. He focuses on the effort.
Hmm.
It's the
Yeah,
effort involved because there I don't know the whole story, but it was so cool. And there was this guy who he was learning with his son. Right? He was learning with his son, and so he asked his son to teach him Gemara. Right? He was like,
yeah,
okay, I'm gonna sit down, right? Because his son, he was doing his thing. Right? He's very 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 knowledgeable. And so he was like, okay, we're gonna start. So basically, it took him, because he didn't really know the Aramaic, so he literally he toiled with each word. He was like, son, I want to learn each
yeah,
word.
yeah, yeah.
It took him 3 years to finish one daf. And a daf in a Gemara, for those who don't know, a daf is a front page and then the back page, right? And so it took him 3 years to finish one daf. And so he asked his son. He was like, hey, I want to do a sim.
Yeah.
And his son was like, pops, listen, sims don't have you got to finish a whole masechet,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Not just one daf. He was like, oh, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I want to do a sim. And he was like, nah, it don't work like that, pops. And so he was like, go ask your Rob, right? And I believe his Rob was Rob Moshe Feinstein.
Okay. Okay.
And so he was like, okay, he's like, Rav, my dad, right, took him 3 years, right? So I don't know why he thinks he should have a him. He was like, what should he do? And Rav Moshe Feinstein, he was like, I have never, I have never heard of anybody wanting to have a siyum after completing one daf. I would love to be there for that.
Really shout. Really
I
shout.
would love
Yeah.
to celebrate him.
Yeah.
Right. And then Rabbi Senior goes on to say, he's like, it's all about the effort. The fact that he took 3 years to toil and to understand, to master the one daf,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
hear that.
that really hit me
I
a
hear that.
lot.
Right. Well, I mean, we live in a time where everybody's just focused on these sort of accomplishments and having to do this and
Yeah.
having to do that, and not understanding like, look, at Torah, just you're doing it for the sake of it by itself,
Yeah.
and you're not comparing yourself to anybody else,
Right.
right? This is you and Hashem, right? And your effort is going to show up,
Yeah.
right?
Because
Yeah,
I think too, like we get so caught up in I do something, I get a reward. I do something, get a reward. And
yeah,
I think that carries over into our learning, to where it's sometime because of that, we're like, well, I know I ain't gonna get no physical reward for it. So I don't even want to even get started. That's
yeah.
how some people probably think.
Yeah, and it's not only that. It's hard to be disciplined. It's hard to set up a. All right, I'm studying in the morning and night when you're not getting. If you go to school, it's a
Right.
test or
Right.
the project due. When there's nothing like that, just you figure it out, right?
Yeah,
Right. That's harder. It's
it
harder to
is.
do that, right?
It is. But that's why I wanted to ask, like what would you say to that person? I love that you say, just start, learn Torah for its own sake, right? Just learn a little bit, right? Learn a
Yeah.
little bit, right? If even if it's just a couple little
And
words.
even if it's a struggle, even if you're
Yeah.
thinking about like, man, what's the point? And I'm like doing this, right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, right? If you keep at it, right? that Mr. Miyagi effect's gonna happen, right? You're gonna be
Hey.
like, oh wow, I didn't know that. It's gonna be spiritually, right?
Yeah.
It's not gonna
Yeah.
like in a fight. It's gonna be spiritually, right? Like you're gonna be like, oh wow,
Yeah.
right?
That's beautiful. Nova Festival. Nova
Hmm.
Festival. Did you get a chance to visit the festival grounds?
Yes, I did.
If you don't mind, if you don't mind, maybe sharing a little bit about your experiences there.
Yeah. I mean, it was rough, right? You go there and you see all these sort of memorials from all the people that were, massacred,
Yeah.
right? You just see pictures, right? And these are young people, right? Essentially, they were kids, right? They weren't like adolescent, but they were kids, right? You're
Yeah.
looking at like, man, so young and at a dance, right? Like that's just like it's unconscionable. Like you unconscionable. You just go to a dance to
Listen to music,
it's
have
good, it's
fun,
good vibes,
right?
right? That's what your thing on, and then just to get massacred in that way, and so many people, right? I was conflicted in emotions. I was sad, right? There was tears in my eyes. It was very emotional, right? Because people just got murdered for being Jews,
Mm.
right? And I'm thinking it's 2020, it's 2024 right now, right? And people, well, I mean, it's happened in 2023, but I mean, I'm thinking that people are still getting murdered for being Jews, right? Like that's the reason, and to this extent, uh, it's a lot. You can't walk through there without just like almost being seized emotionally, just seized like this. Like, how can this happen?
Mm.
And and then there's a little bit of anger, right? I don't say there's a lot of anger, right? My anger was just the fact that I came from America, so I'm knowing like so many people are Jews are doing this or Jews do. We're not allowed to mourn, right?
Hmm.
Look at that. How do you not say that okay, a war that somebody else started, collateral consequences, things happen, bad, it's sad. It's different, right? It's different from purposely massacring people in a personal way, right? Like, and not only that, I'm just going to add to it. I was at for Aza, right? I went through the kibbutz. I seen the different sort of homes. There were people came in there and murdered people and murdered couples and murdered family members. I seen their picture,
Mm.
right? I went in there. I spoke to Zaka. And I seen the uncensored photographs
Uh,
that were unreleased, right? You go on the internet, right? You're on social media, right? And that's why I don't advise people to be on social media. Not telling people not to watch this, right? But you understand what I'm saying. Is you have people? Oh no, this didn't happen or that didn't happen, and like, wait, what? Do I have to show proof, right? Do I have to show proof, right? And just to be able to see and to witness that and to think about that, right? And not only that, we spoke to people that was there that survived, right? And not only that,
mm.
I was at Hostage Square. I spoke to, was able to have a conversation with somebody that was released in the first hostage exchange. So she was taken as a hostage, right, and released in the first hostage exchange, but her husband is still there. So I'm having all these conversations. I'm hearing the play by play, right, and this the terror, right. And then going to that to the Nova the music festival space, right? It was super emotional, but I was super angry that we have to explain and we have to almost beg people to recognize our humanity and this
Mm.
tragedy that came about on us. But we have to like we're yelling out into the wind. We haven't processed our grief,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I'm fully in it, witnessing just seeing all these memorials to people who were dancing
Yeah.
and murdered because they were Jewish, right? And it was tough, and I'm still angered about it now. When I turn my phone and this and that, and everybody seems to not value Jewish life, right? And then realize that not only that, right? And then there's that insecurity because we're even in the land of Jews where we're supposed to feel safe,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
You know, like this unfathomable thing happened, right? And so I'm still. It's hard for me to even look at the videos that were filmed when I was there and the pictures.
I got
Right,
you.
I wanted to capture the moment because I didn't want to forget. I wanted that to
Sure.
be a visceral response because it's our brothers and sisters, right?
Sure.
But it's a lot to process, and I'm probably going to be processing this for a long time to
Yeah.
come.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. I mean, just I get sick just seeing certain things on the internet. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like just seeing videos of the kibbutz, the different areas where they
mm-hmm.
came in, all the families. Like just I can't even watch that. Like
Yeah,
I can't even watch the videos of just the houses, how they're burnt down, and all these different things.
yeah,
I can't even watch those. So actually being there on
yeah,
site has to be a whole different level. Um, yeah,
yeah, yeah. The shout out to our IDF brothers and sisters that are holding it down and doing a thankless job defending our homeland.
wow.
I gotta go to a we had a barbecue and a surprise concert for the people in IDF, and I got to be there. I didn't release any pictures because it was it was like don't release anything at the base and all
Okay,
that, right?
okay.
But this to see so many young men and women able to, because it was friends and family members
Hmm.
that were taken in this, right? You hear about just the bravery displayed, but just to have them, because at the end of the day, right, I feel so, all I'm doing is talking on social media.
Yeah.
All I'm doing is maybe I talk at schools or
Hmm.
something like that, right? But they're
Gotcha.
putting their life on the line
They're on the front
to
lines.
defend us,
Yeah.
right? It's so much respect and kavod for the soldiers protecting us.
Mad respect. I mean, just even thinking about, what just came out,
Yeah, yeah,
today, yesterday,
almost fam.
I forgot his name. Forgive me. But the gentleman, the brave, the hero who risked his life,
His
to,
life. I named the operation after him after that, right?
wow, to
Uh,
bring,
yeah,
to rescue, not, yeah, to rescue those four hostages that just came home, Baruch Hashem. He was the one that lost his life.
yeah.
He went in first or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
he was like the lead like commander of
the operation, yeah.
of the operation. It shows one how much we value life,
Yeah,
right? We're really to risk
right.
ourselves. Not only that, right? And again, I just have this utmost respect for the soldiers, right? That he has his own family, he has his own people connected to him, right? To risk your life, this, like what? No, we have captives, we have hostages, and it's a supreme Jewish value to rescue captives,
Right.
supreme value, right? And people are putting their life on the line and literally giving their life, right, for the supreme value of rescuing a captive, right? I just have so much respect and so
Yeah.
much, I want to be able to do more, right? Like,
Yeah.
what can I
Right.
do, right?
Right.
Like, what can I do?
Yeah. I can't wait to be able to have an experience or the opportunity to actually at least just shake a hand of IDF soldier.
Yeah,
You know, I haven't yet had that opportunity. But they're the heroes, man. They're the
yeah.
heroes. You
So,
met with some, you mentioned that met with the president, you met with some very, very, powerful people. What message would you like to convey to policymakers about the needs and challenges of the communities that you work with?
the needs and challenges of the community that I work with.
Before we go there, what would you say? Yeah, before we touch that, what would you say when it comes to the policymakers in Eretz Israel? What would you say? Like, what message would you like for them to convey, or to start making making some changes within certain policies, or what would you like to see done differently by policymakers in Israel?
So I'm not a big policy guy. I prefer to just critique policies that are there. I'm not going to offer any sort of policy. Not only that, like I feel like whatever sort of thoughtful response I may have for particular policies at any given time, like there's so much that goes on beyond this behind the scene.
Right,
Like what do I know, right? Like
right, right.
there's international pressure, and so much. I do think though we need to be more on the offensive than the defensive. And what am I talking about? I'm not talking about necessarily military tactics, right? I'm just talking about our narrative, right?
Hmm.
It's always in defense, right? Oh, it's not genocide. It's not this and that. True, you got to defend yourself against like straight up lies, right? But I think our narrative of what it means to be Jewish, our connection to the land, right? Our just connection to the land and what we're about and what we're trying to do, right? I think we need to be pushing the narrative and not just simply be responsive, right? And so
Hmm.
I don't know who politicians are hiring or anything like that. I also believe, though, if you're talking about policy, I think the more we're connected to Torah, the better,
Yeah.
right? Period. Because at the end of the day, we are not a nation like other nations. That
Right.
was never meant to be the thing, right? And
Yeah.
so, I understand. I understand it is what it is. We have the system that we have, right? But I believe we need to be connected to our heritage, right? Our reason for being in the land, and Torah, more so than we are now,
Yeah.
right? More so than we are now, right? And if anything, whatever these policies are, whatever happens, right, there needs to be actus, there needs to be unity. So whether you are religious or whether you are secular, right, that we understand that we have a shared fate, right, and we're
Yeah.
one cloud, we're one community, and so politicians and policies need to keep that in mind.
Okay. Good. I like that. Um, in our wrapping up, I want to take a slight turn and talk about and I guess talk about culture a little bit. There are a lot of people who are, people of color. They reach out to us all the time and they say, "Hey, um, I'm nervous about, joining the Jewish people. I'm nervous about going to Eretz Israel because I don't see a lot of Jews of color, things like that. Well, they think that there are not a lot of
Yeah,
Jews of
yeah.
color in Eretz Israel. What would you say to people who are maybe having these internal battles, as far as seeing themselves as a part of the Jewish nation?
So good question. I would say one thing I do know is that it's good to be able to see yourself,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right. That gives you a level of confidence, a level of all right familiarity, where you feel comfortable to be yourself. If you can see yourself, you feel comfortable to be yourself.
I
All
agree.
right.
I agree.
I would say one, Israel is what one. The statistic I heard is that the number one place for African American immigration is Israel,
Hmm.
right? So that should let you know something, right? We're not talking
Wow.
about, think about all the sort of countries in the world, right? All the hate people talk about Israel, the number one place for African Americans to immigrate is Israel.
Wow.
So first of all, we're talking about all the sort of, accusations. It doesn't hold water,
Right.
right? Now that doesn't mean that racism doesn't exist, right? I imagine, right? I didn't experience anything when I was there in my short time, right?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I imagine racism exists everywhere, right?
Right.
Because that's just the nature of human beings and
Right.
people, right? I would say though, wherever I went, right, when I went to the at least the holiest place, the Kosel, right, the Western Wall, seen Jews of all colors, right? Nobody was like looking. I had people in the and it's a social media connection, I guess. People were coming up to me, shaking my hand, asking to take pictures,
Oh,
right?
wow.
It was an embrace, right? Like I'm like, all right, well, I'm low key, like everybody cool with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's trying to embrace me, right? So when you get there, you're not gonna be singled out or made to feel a certain way because you look a certain way,
Hmm.
right?
Beautiful.
At the end of the day, I dress, talk, walk like a Jew, right? And that's essentially what people reacted as such, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, like I said, when I went to, there's hundreds of people in Shul for Shabbos, right? When they gave me Aliyah, right, which is that honor, you get called, and I low key thought like this is like I'm at a concert. There's so many people up in this, so many people up in this shul, right? Like I
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
pressure, right? And then when I
Yeah.
went to another, I was at the other shul, right? And these are, people like, hey, what's your Hebrew name? Boom, call me for Aliyah. So that just they were people wanted to give out the honors, right? That's what I had. So I had random people. I had Rebbeim, right? When I went to the yeshiva, right? Like so, like, and this is Rosh Yeshiva. And what he said, he's like, he said something to the effect, "Oh, well, you're holier than me because you converted." And first of all, I'm like, "Yeah, Rabbi, I'm not gonna argue with you, Rabbi, but come on, Rabbi,
Right,
for sure, you're holier than all this."
right.
But the mere fact that
Right.
we're run by Halakha and Torah law. That's what we're run by. That's what governs us, right? And Torah law is not concerned with color. It's not a thing, right? We
Beautiful.
can't. I've said it
Beautiful.
before. We can't graft America's color coded social constructs onto Jewish identity,
Mm,
right? I'm a black man in America.
right.
Can't change that. Can't change that experience. Everything that comes with, I understand that. But I'm a Jew,
Hmm.
right? And when you're a Jew in the Jewish land, right? That's the primary identity that matters, right? Right. And you're gonna find, like when I was going to shul, I seen people that look just like me over here and over there,
Yeah.
right? Hey, right. And just in an embrace, just an embrace, like we're Jewish, we're on this mission together. And there was pride, there was warmth, there was love. Again, when I say is I have never felt at home anywhere in the world like I felt like when I was in Eretz Yisrael.
Woo. I'm gonna try my best to find like some flames or something to put on the video, right? No, that right there was probably my favorite part
Yeah.
of this whole interview right here, man. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Man, I appreciate you so much for just being willing to just be open, be transparent, to be real. You always real. You always. I mean, that's you talk to Yehudah anytime. He's not gonna sugarcoat anything. He's just gonna keep it real, just 100 every single day. It's just who he is. Like what you see right now in his interview is literally who he is. Right? Is every day. So man, I'm so grateful. I really pray and hope that the viewers are were able to get some chizuk, get some encouragement from this conversation. And how can people find you?
Yehudah Pryce, you could at gmail.com or Instagram. It's Yehudah with an H at the end, Price with a Y, right? Yehudah Pryce.
Nice,
Holla at me.
nice. Any last parting words before we shut it down?
I would just say, first of all, I'm honored and grateful to have you in the community, to be able to, see you not only just grow in Yiddishkeit, but see you with your family move towards this sort of destination of Eretz Yisrael, right? Because that's the ultimate sort of homecoming, and it's the full sort of actualization of becoming a Jew
Yeah,
to be in that land. So I appreciate, thankful to Hashem, right, and just thankful to you and your family, right, because you really, I think you embody Yiddishkeit. Right, you've always done it for the right reasons. Every time I've told people about your walk and all that, I was like, look, all I know is the whole family, the Mitos, everything is on point and on and we're so honored to have you connect to the Jewish people. So I want to say that as far as people understanding Eretz Yisrael, right? It is a beautiful place to be. I have never felt safer, more welcomed, or more at home than being with Eretz Yisrael. And I feel that I must arrange my life in a way that reflects my yearning to be in Eretz Yisrael. So Be'ez Hashem, uh, I'll be in Eretz Yisrael sooner than later.
Bezrat Hashem. Bezrat Hashem. Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah,
Appreciate you.
having me,
And
brother.
maybe we'll do another one, Bezrat Hashem, before
Yeah,
we leave.
right. Good.
Thank you guys for watching.